everyone, and welcome. My name is Jim McGreevy, and I'm very much honored to say thank you to each and every one of you for family and friends, and for all those members of the administration and cabinet and advocates to address the crisis of addiction in our state and in our nation, for joining in this annual vigil. And if I can, also call to mind that as we've just left the Thanksgiving Day season, we embark upon the season of light and Hanukkah and Christmas, I would just ask us to call to mind three passages from the book of Psalms. The first is the recognition of gratitude, the gifts in our lives, for all those individuals we have known, all those who have touched our hearts, and the gift of life. Oh, give thanks to the Lord and call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the people. And for each of our speakers tonight, and for all that we do this day and in the months forward, let the words of our mouth and the meditations of our heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. And I ask you all now to, I hate to say this, shut off your bloody phones. And I ask us all now, as Psalms 43:3 says, send out your light and your truth, that they may lead me, and bring me to your holy hill and to your dwelling. And with that, I ask us all to light our lights as we commence this vigil. And now at this time, it's a great honor to call upon a man of great faith, a man who serves all those in need, from the addicted to the families of the addicted, to those with means and those without, to all persons. He's a senior pastor of City Line Church in Jersey City. It's a great honor that we call upon Reverend Joshua Rodriguez to lead us in prayer. Pastor.
Before we pray, I just want to say that I'm honored to be here, and when I received a call to be part of this, I was reminded of one of the saddest days of my life this year. When one of our leaders called me and let me know that he was on his way to New York City with his mom in order to identify the body of who they believed to be his brother, who was found dead on one of the streets of New York City due to an overdose. My heart was broken. The family, as they were shocked and as they were so negatively affected by the news, I was reminded of the challenges that we have before us, and how it is at a night like tonight we can remember those who've gone before us, but also reach out and try to help those among us that are challenged with all kinds of substance abuse. Let us pray. Father God, today as we come before you, we are reminded of the words of your servant, the Apostle Paul, who wrote to the church in Corinth, and reminded our brothers and sisters that regardless of the realities that we live in life with these bodies that are like jars of clay, but we confront the fact that we are all fragile, we all have weaknesses. We can call on you, for you are the hope of our glory. Just as the Apostle Paul reminded our brothers and sisters in that region of the world, that when we go through tough times, although we may be shaken, and although we may even be struck down by drug addiction and all kinds of substance abuse, we are not destroyed. So today, God, we ask that you would help us to remember the lives of those who have gone before us. Men and women who fought the good fight, who fought every day of their lives in order to overcome this bondage. Help us to continue to fight in your memory as we continue to form collaborations with the private sector, the public sector, and communities across our state and our nation, so that together we're able to bring solutions that can deliver our brothers, our sisters, our sons and daughters, our parents, our relatives, and our dear friends from the bondage of substance abuse. I pray in this day, O God, that you would help us all to reflect on how we value life. That at the end of the day, we value life of human beings everywhere on this planet, and that we would never forget that as long as we have hope, we can help our brothers and sisters overcome the bondage of substance abuse. We ask that you would hear our prayer today in your most holy name. We ask this, and all of God's people can say with me, amen. Amen. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. And again, I'd also like to thank all the members of the clergy that are here from various churches and synagogues and mosques and temples from throughout the state of New Jersey. We all lift up the name of God and our own names, and I'm grateful for their leadership. Now someone who serves in the capacity of leadership on behalf of the New Jersey Conference of Mayors, Mayor Jim Perry, to share with us his own story. Jim?
Thank you, Governor Christie, Governor Christie, for having me out to this. Thank you all for coming out. I want to introduce myself. My name is Jim Perry. I'm the mayor of Hardwick Township in Warren County. I'm president of the State Conference of Mayors and vice president at the League of Municipalities. And I have a drug problem. I'm going to give you a short version of my problem, otherwise I have to be here all night. 2015, October 15, 2015, I was on the phone with my son watching the Mets game. He was out in Florida, and we wanted to make it together over the telephone. The next day, tried to call him all day long, getting no answer. Come 6 o'clock, maybe he'd be out of work, maybe he couldn't talk because he was at work. I finally reached out to the apartment complex he was at. They said as far as there was lights on. So I called the police. At this point, I had already known what my outcome was going to tell me. The police called me back about a half hour later and told me, Mr. Perry, I'm sorry to inform you that we have found your son deceased on the living room floor of his apartment. The first thing that came to mind for me to ask was, did you find any drugs? I had suspected, wasn't totally sure if he was doing drugs, but my daughter and I both suspected. And sure enough, they said yes, they did find drugs in the apartment. It ended up, he had died of fentanyl overdose and mixed with alcohol. And the hardest part came next when I had to get in the car and drive from where I live in Warren County to Morris County, down to Morristown to let my daughter know that her brother had passed away. The minute she saw me get out of the car, she fell to her knees in the driveway, which she had also suspected. Fell to her knees crying and saying, my brother's dead, isn't he? You're here to tell me Jesse's dead. And that was a very hard thing to go through. That's not where it ends. 1 year later, 1 year, 1 week later, I get a call from my sister that my niece Amber was found in the bedroom that morning, dead of a heroin overdose. So within 1 year, we lost 2 family members. And why I say I have a drug problem is because it is a drug problem. what my family's gone through, what my son went through, what my niece went through. It affects us all. And it's a major epidemic. It's worse than I even imagined. So that is the other purpose of what I want to get out to people is the stigma of what a drug addict or somebody that has a problem with drugs is. It's not like when I was younger. It could be anybody. And obviously what we're here for tonight, there's people that have gone through it. Other places where I give talks where there's a lot of executives, there's a lot of doctors, lawyers, and I always guarantee them that within the audience that we have, 200 to 300 people, there's always at least 20 to 30 people in that audience that have a drug problem themselves, whether it's the addict themselves or whether it's a family member that's going through what I had to do. And let me tell you, the grief afterwards of the relief that I didn't have to worry about my son anymore was even harder, because now I felt the guilt that I felt relief. So the other thing I want to mention is that I've made as president of the Conference of Mayors, to make it my mission to push awareness and support for this cause. And with Governor Christie has put out a pledge for all mayors to sign, which I have my signed copy here, and we have numerous people who have signed, numerous mayors across the state who have signed a copy of the pledge to support the fight against the opioid crisis. And I urge all mayors throughout the state to please sign this, get it back, and do everything you can, work with us to fight this epidemic. So with that, I don't want to speak too long because there's a number of speakers and it's cold out. I appreciate that everybody's out here in support of families like mine and people who are going through these problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your courage and your leadership in translating your personal pain to a policy challenge that we all embrace. Now, if I may, this next person joined with the governor meeting at the White House with the president. Pam is a very special person. She'll be accompanied by Michael. Pam Carrazza. Round of applause for Pam.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. It means a lot to those of us who need your support. 1 year ago, I attended Governor Chris Christie's first candlelight vigil. I was celebrating my son's recovery. His name is Carlos. At that point in time, last year, he had 10 months clean, and we were so looking forward to celebrating a Christmas with him, with our new blended family, because 3 weeks before this last year, before the candlelight vigil, Carlos had walked me down the aisle when I married my husband, Mike, and it was such a wonderful moment to have him, Carlos, doing so well. We were so very proud of him. I had so much to be thankful for at the vigil that evening. Because you see, Carlos, at age 23, had spent the last 7 years of his life in and out of recovery. He started drug use at age 15 and a half, smoking pot. It began, you might say simply, I know a lot of folks think that marijuana is not a real issue, but Carlos, if he were here, would be the very first one to tell you that for him and for countless others, marijuana was a gateway to other drugs, such as the opioids that he took at the age of 16. Carlos's struggle ended last December 23rd. We don't know what happened that night that he chose to take drugs again. He died from a fentanyl overdose 2 days before Christmas. I applaud Governor Christie for exhibiting the kind of leadership necessary to put opioid awareness and recovery efforts on the front burner, both at the state and national levels. The governor speaks from his heart with a fierceness and compassion that is critical to fighting this epidemic, because that's what it is, it's an epidemic. And he works unceasingly to get programs in place to support those in recovery as well as their families and loved ones. I want to now speak for Carlos, what I believe he would say to you if he were up here on this podium tonight. First, he would implore you to see people as individuals, not as addicts. In fact, he would ask you to remove that word addict from your vocabulary. These are human beings. They're our sons, our daughters, our loved ones, our coworkers, our friends, our neighbors. See them as people who have a disease, who have a substance use disorder. It's a disease. Carlos often told others, I worry about what people look at me when they see me, about what they think. Do they see me as someone who's a drug user? Do they see me as someone that they picture with a needle in his arm? I have hopes and dreams. I'm 23 years old. I have a job. I have a girlfriend who I love. I'm going back to school. He had plans to return to school. I'm a human being struggling, just like everyone is struggling with something or another. I have plans to get married and have a family. Carlos had wanted to get a degree in engineering so that he could go to countries where he was needed to help set up water programs to bring clean water to people who don't have it. That's who my son was. That's how I want him to be remembered. When he used that day on December 23rd, why he used, we'll never know, but we all know that the effects of opioids on the brain are extremely powerful and long-lasting. Carlos would tell you also to educate yourselves about the disease of substance use disorder. Learn what it is and what it is not, and tell others. Share your knowledge with others. Carlos would also encourage you to support people in recovery because they are some of the bravest and strongest people you will ever know. Recovery is the hardest thing to do because it takes focus, concentration, extremely hard work, determination, and it also takes vigilance because the pressures and the temptations are everywhere. Finally, Carlos would want you to know that there is hope, that your life has meaning and purpose, and that none of you are alone. We are all here for each other, to shine a light on substance use disorder, to remember those who have gone on, and to focus on helping those in recovery, because that is what's important. Every day that a person is in recovery or going towards recovery is a step in a healthy direction. So when you extinguish your light, don't do it now, but when you extinguish your light when you leave tonight, keep the light in your hearts on. Keep the flame burning in your hearts. Show compassion, show understanding, show support, and show love. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. And many of you know this next couple. Kevin Mira is somebody who's been very special in many of our lives in terms of his sense of advocacy in the crisis. And now I'd like to call upon Kevin and Marianne Mira to deliver their marks as founders of City of Angels.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out to the vigil. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Governor Christie for holding this second annual vigil and for all that he's done for addiction and recovery. And I also would want to note that this is his last vigil, as in January we'll have a new governor. And I want to wish Governor Christie the best of luck in everything he does, because he's never said no to us. 10 years ago, Marianne and I became members of a club we never asked to join, when our son, Casey, 24, died of a heroin overdose. Your life changes forever. I would say to people since that time, when City of Angels formed, that you know you made it when you think more about their life than their death. And we're not there yet. But last night, I feel I got a little closer. I watched an interview with Pastor Frank Pomeroy and his wife Sherry, and they asked her, how is she managing through this? Because her daughter, 14-year-old Annabelle, was shot and killed in the church, and they weren't there. And it was tormenting her. And she said, well, you know, a fellow parishioner told me this story. She watched her father be pulled from a pool in a drowning incident. And the young girl was traumatized by it as she saw her father grasping for air, turning blue, a scene no one should have to see. And after he came to, she told him what she saw. And he said, you know, that's funny. He said, what I saw was a bright light. I found comfort. There was no pain. And she said that has begun to heal her. And I think about all the parents that I've sat with. And now I think because of our faith, we can have that same comfort, that really he felt no pain, that he was going to God. 3,325. 3,325, that number, beginning tonight up until Christmas Eve, will be the number of empty chairs at Christmas dinner tables, because we're losing 175 people a day to overdose. As I thank Governor Christie and Senator Vitale for what they do, I'm going to ask them to do more. Because we know that if we do more, even if just one chair is full with a young man or young woman, we've made progress. And I have to talk to you about the tragedy, but really, this is about City of Angels and all the volunteers and the moms who help other people. This is about Vanessa and Keith, who are in recovery, who will be speaking to you tonight. Last year, I said that Pastor Wood had mentioned the word broken in a service. And I said to you all that I realized I'm broken, and many of us are broken, but I said we're not defeated. Because of Pastor Pomeroy and his wife and the little story that she told, I feel a little less broken. And because of all you out here, I feel a little less broken. And because of Vanessa and Keith and City of Angels, I feel a little less broken. And we're not defeated. Thank you again, and have a blessed Christmas.
And again to Jim Perry, to Pam, and to Kevin and Marianne, on behalf of all of us, thank you for their courage in sharing their story. Now I'd like to call upon Michael Riley. Michael is a funeral director in Hillsborough who spoke out recently at a Board of Education meeting requesting the need for the district to do more to address the scourge of drug abuse. Mr. Michael Riley.
That's it. Good evening. I'm grateful to be here and for this opportunity to speak. In 1993, when I became a funeral director, I imagined doing funerals for grandparents and great-grandparents, most of who had fulfilled their bucket lists, and occasionally a funeral for someone too young due to a tragedy. Today, I sadly say, the tragic funeral of young people who never had a chance to even create a bucket list is becoming too frequent due to drug overdose. Too much of my work is conversations now with parents, asking them to pick out clothing for their children to wear during the viewing, asking them to gather photos for the collages, and the photos go to high school and sometimes college graduation, and then they stop. Asking parents to pick out a casket to put their child in, and finally pick a cemetery where they're going to bury their child. I speak today not just as a funeral director, but also as a father of 4 from the ages of 17 to 25. I want all our children to know that there's nothing they can do to make mom and dad love them any less. My hope is that all families can have conversations about this horrible disease with no judgment and no fear. Not only when bad things happen, but instead every day. It is those daily, frank, honest, and loving conversations among families that can prevent you from having conversation with me, a conversation that none of us should ever have.
Thank you, Michael. We're very much honored to have the support of leadership from the NFL who understand the challenges we all face in our communities across the nation and the purpose and the mission of this candlelight vigil. And now I'd like to call upon Eric Coleman, the New Jersey Jets, Jesse Armstead, the Giants, and Antonio Pierce and Vance Johnson of Denver to deliver remarks.
How you doing? I'm Antonio Pierce. Standing over there just a few moments ago, listening to some of the stories of the families that came out here. It kind of puts things in perspective. You know, you look at myself and the guys behind me as NFL athletes, but you deal with the same things with your teammates. If it's painkillers, alcoholism, abusing different drugs and things in the National Football League, it's happening in the real world with everybody else. And one thing I know about what you do when you put a bunch of strong people together and strong minds together is that you can make things happen. And you can see that by everybody's support tonight. But it takes more. So you got tentacles, you got 2 arms. You can reach out and grab more people, regardless if they got somebody that's affected by it or if they're affected by it. And you can open up that dialogue. And the most important thing that happens in an NFL team is the locker room. In that locker room, a lot of dialogue happens. And tonight, that's happening tonight. So what I would suggest and what I would urge to everybody to do is, instead of liking, instead of just writing little comments when you're on social media and everybody's on their phones at certain times, how about you ask somebody how they're doing? Do they need help? Is everything okay? Go a little bit more beyond the way we are in the world as far as how social media has dominated how we talk and communicate to one another, and open up that dialogue to make sure that we bring other people in that may or may not need help to make sure we handle this addiction. I thank you on behalf of New York Giants. Have a happy holidays, and let's kick this drug addiction's ass, all right?
Hi, I'm Jesse Armstead. I'd like to thank Governor Christie, the state of New Jersey, and the police officers, and everyone that's here and all around, because this is one problem that we all got to stick together and fight together. And everybody in here, like Antonio just said, you have social media. Let's reach out to everybody and let's support each other. And let's kick this drug and kick everybody's ass. Thank you very much.
How you doing? My name is Eric Coleman from the New York Jets. And on behalf of the Jets, I'd like to thank you all, thank Governor Christie, thank Reach New Jersey for having us and shedding light on this topic. As you can see, I mean, just from listening to the stories, me myself, you know, I'm a child of 2 drug addicts. And growing up is not easy. It affects your whole family, it affects your upbringing, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And I commend you all for taking these steps to get rid of this drug addiction, to get rid of these drugs. I think it's important for us as athletes to use our platform to spread the word. It hits every home. It doesn't discriminate. Drug abuse does not discriminate. We have to raise awareness, talk to one another, and spread the word that there is help out there. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vance Johnson. I'm a Denver Bronco, former Denver Bronco, 10 years. Played with John Elway, and originally from Trenton, New Jersey. Yeah. Which leads me to my point here. I'd like to thank Governor Christie for allowing me this opportunity to stand here with these great men and all of you to talk about this problem we have with addiction. To start peeling back the onion, so to speak. To start bringing it to the forefront, to start breaking stigma. You know, I always wondered why I had a chance to run the streets just a couple blocks from here to race for 25 cents a race. So I could reach that goal. My parents moved me from Trenton thinking if they moved me out of this area that I wouldn't fall off the wagon to find alcohol or find drugs. But actually, when I was 23 years old, my first football game, I dropped the punt and I started to use. And then I started coping that way as things would happen in my life. Growing up in and around domestic issues and around addiction, it was just a matter of time before it found me and it took me down. I ended up losing a son that was killed by a drunk driver. 10 years in the NFL, 3 Super Bowls with John Elway. The Olympic team, never having a problem with addiction, but then when I started, I couldn't stop. When I lost my son, I ended up using myself into a coma. I was laying there dead and my sister took a deathbed picture of me. When I was laying there, I realized that, you know what, there must be something more than just going to the Super Bowl and being a great football player. There had to be a reason why I was wearing that number 82 jersey for the Denver Broncos. And now I know what that was all about. So that I could have a mighty fall. So when I was offered an opportunity to come back to my home state and be a part of Trenton, to be a part of hope, to be a part of a community, that I was here to do that. To be here with you. You know, Trenton comes from a long time ago, and it did a lot of different things in this whole country to build the country to what it is today. And that's the reason why that sign says, what Trenton makes. Well, there's something else we're going to make. And by the grace of God, I had a chance now to be home and meet with Governor Christie and sit in his office and watch him be transparent and talk about how it affected him years ago. In fact, I'm glad he didn't make it to the White House because he could do a lot more saving lives with this addiction stuff than dealing with the drama they have going on over there, right? Amen. So I'm glad to be here today, and I would ask you, our community, to use myself as a former athlete, use these other ball players, so we can go out there and teach our communities, teach our kids. And it's just not just high school, because I go around the country talking to thousands of kids, and all of them are raising their hands saying they know someone's suffering with addiction. It starts even younger than that. And as far as social media, I got you live on my Facebook right now because it's all about hope. It's about breaking stigma and transparency for me. So let's do me a favor. This is how I'm going to end this thing. We don't watch the football game so we can just watch guys run in the huddle and say, ready, break, and run back to the sidelines, do we? We don't watch them so they run out again and just go in the huddle and then say, ready, break, and go back to the sidelines. We're in a huddle right now. And there's something we have to do when we leave from here. Because someone's sobriety has your name on it. We've all lost someone. And that's the reason why we're here today. Can you hold your candles up for me, please, so I can show everyone that's watching my Facebook page? It's going to start in Trenton, right? God bless you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm with the Futures of Palm Beach as the outreach coordinator, as a spokesperson down in Florida, but I'm here in Jersey to show people the way to get sober and get clean. God bless you. Thank you. What's up, brother? Thanks, man.
And now I'd like to call upon the Princeton High School a cappella group. Ladies. get close to the mic to project. Closer to the mic.
Dum dum ba da dum da da dum da dum da 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 da dum the night is young and the land is dark and the moon is the only light to see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. 'Cause darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Oh, won't you stand now? Stand by me. Stand by me. Darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Oh, won't you stand now? Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should crumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, oh, I won't cry. No, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. Darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand by me? Oh, won't you stand now? Come stand by me. Darling, stand by me. Oh, won't you stand now by me? Oh, won't you stand now? Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, won't you stand now by me? Oh, won't you stand now, baby? Stand by me. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, I'm gonna let my little light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Ooh, oh. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Ooh, oh. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, I'm gonna let my little light shine. On Monday, you gave me the gift of love. On Tuesday, peace came from above. On Wednesday, told me to have more faith. On Thursday, give me just a little more grace. On Friday, told me to watch and pray. On Saturday, told me just what to say. On Sunday, gave me the power divine just to let my little light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Ooh, oh. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Ooh, oh. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, I'm gonna let my little light shine. On a Monday, you gave me the gift of love. On Tuesday, peace came from above. On Wednesday, told me to have more faith. On Thursday,
give me just a little more grace.
On Friday, told me to watch and pray. On Saturday, told me just what to say. On Sunday, gave me the power divine just to let my little light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Ooh, oh, oh. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Ooh, oh, oh. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Yeah. I'm gonna let my little light shine.
Can we have another round of applause for the great Princeton a cappella group? And we're going to bring them back up to sing Amazing Grace at the end of the program. And now I'd like to introduce a young woman that many of you have had the opportunity to hear while the governor embarked upon outreach throughout the state of New Jersey, making people aware of the treatment options that were available. And in many ways, she was the face in New Jersey of those seeking recovery. A very special young woman I'd like to call upon, Vanessa Vitolo.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm here tonight to represent a light that is born in the defeat of this darkness. A lot of you may know me as Vanessa from the Reach on J commercials, but just a year ago today, I spoke at this event begging to share my story and to share my hope. And in that year, we've come so far. But we're all here tonight because the problem is still so devastating. We need to continue to work together to create change in our communities. I draw strength from each and every one of you every single day, and I thank you for all that you do. There is hope, and I'm living proof of that. I beg you all to spread that hope, to love more, to judge less. We are all in this fight together. I would like to thank you. All of you guys, thank you so much for all that you do. I would like to take this opportunity as well to thank Governor Christie, not only for playing a role in saving my life, but for championing this issue. He has been a guiding light on how to make a difference in this epidemic. I'm honored to call him a friend. Can we all take a moment to raise our candles for all those who lost their lives to this disease? Let their lives not be in vain. I challenge you all to be the change in honor of your loved ones. Thank you all. God bless and happy holidays.
Thank you very much. And Vanessa, thank you for all that you've done. And again, the governor is about to be here, and because they had such a wonderful rounding reception, and I have to fill 2 minutes, can we, in the interest of transparency, can we bring on the Princeton High School a cappella group? Come on, ladies. What's your name? All right, and the troublemaker on the right is Allie. Go ahead.
These fleeting charms of earth, farewell, your springs of joy are dry. My soul now seeks another home, a brighter world on high. I'm a long time traveling here below. I'm a long time traveling away from home. I'm a long time traveling here below to lay this body down. Farewell, kind friends whose tender care has long engaged my love. Your fond embrace I now exchange for better friends above. I'm a long time traveling here below. I'm a long time traveling away from home. I'm a long time traveling here below to lay this body down, to lay this body down. A light in the room, it was you who was standing there. Tried, it was true, as your glance met my stare. But your heart drifted off like a land split by sea. I tried to go, to follow, to kneel down at your feet. I'll run, I'll run, I'll run to you. I've been settling scores. I've been fighting so long, but I lost your war, and our kingdom is gone. How shall I win back your heart, which was mine? I have broken bones and tattered clothes. I've run out of time. I'll run. I'll run. I'll run to you.
It's a great honor to introduce our last speaker, and after he speaks, the young ladies will sing Amazing Grace. The vigil tonight, the issue that we face is an American issue. It's not a Republican or Democratic issue. It's not an issue of any particular faith or community or ethnicity or race. It touches all families. Frequently and sadly, one family at a time. I believe that no one person has spoken more clearly and forcefully as to the scourge of addiction, the need for treatment, the necessity of removing the stigma, and to bring families, law enforcement, health officials and educators, cabinets together to confront this scourge. And arguably because of fentanyl, the scourge has indeed become that much more formidable. But one person, one man, long before it was accepted by most persons as the national scourge it is, understood it. Ladies and gentlemen, the mark of leadership is not always doing what is popular or what is easy, but is understanding the pain and the agony of families, good people. I'd like to present to you not only New Jersey's champion, but our beloved nation's champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Christie.
Thank you, Governor. But most importantly, thank you to all of you who are here tonight. You represent a small but important fraction of the people of our state and our country who are affected by this disease. First and most importantly, to the families here tonight who have lost loved ones to this disease, you have my deepest sympathy and prayers for the loved ones you've lost, and for those of you who survive to deal with the pain and the anguish of the loss that you've suffered. But I truly believe that you are here tonight because you understand that you are uniquely positioned to help prevent the next death. You are uniquely positioned to help to counsel those who are going through this disease. You are uniquely positioned to change the attitude of America towards this disease. And your presence tonight is a beginning to doing that. Second, to those people who are here tonight who are in recovery. I hope that you'll continue not only in working each and every day to make sure that your recovery is a lifelong one, but just as importantly to understand that the gift of recovery which you have earned is a gift that you must pass on. The lights that you are holding tonight represent the light of your spirit, that light which can provide hope to the person who tonight is where you once were, at their lowest point, not believing that their life had any value, not understanding that recovery was possible for them, believing that somehow they had failed themselves, their families, their loved ones, and that life, in fact, may not be worth living. You in recovery are the light that gives them hope. You in recovery are the example of how wonderful life can be. You, I believe, have a moral obligation not just to yourself and your families, but to those people who are suffering the way you once suffered, to show them that there is an alternative, that their lives can be turned around, but that first they must put aside shame and put forward their request for help. We ask everyone tonight who listens to this, who knows someone who is in the throes of their disease, or who is in the throes of their disease themselves, to choose help over helplessness, to choose hope over hopelessness, to reach their hand out to someone else, to admit that you are suffering from this disease, and to ask for help. And my promise in return is, when you ask for help, we will do everything we can to make sure help is there for you. For those who are out there who work every day on this problem, we thank you for your commitment to this very simple principle. No life is disposable. No human being is beyond redemption. For anyone in our society who decides to make a moral judgment about those who are suffering from a chronic disease, then be the first to raise your hand and say, you've never made a mistake. You've never made a bad judgment. Every time I go into a room and ask people that, no one raises their hand. And what I say to them is, there but for the grace of God go I. We understand that the only way this problem is going to be solved is if we unite together to march in capitals all across this country to demand that our loved ones who are suffering from this disease be treated like anyone else who has a disease in this country and gets the help that they need and gets it now. Addiction is not a moral failing. Addiction is a disease. It's no different than diabetes. It's no different than heart disease. It's no different than high blood pressure. It is a chronic disease which can be treated, that is contributed to by human conduct. But yet, we don't say that people who get cancer from smoking are getting what they deserve. We try to treat them and cure them. We don't say that people whose conduct has contributed to their diabetes are getting what they deserve and that we should let them die. Yet somehow, we are ashamed to come forward and ask that those who suffer from this disease deserve exactly the same treatment as those who suffer from those other diseases. That needs to end, and you need to demand that your government respond to 64,000 deaths in America last year. 175 of our citizens are dying every day, and they don't have to. We have a 9/11 every 2.5 weeks in this country due to this disease, how much would we spend to stop a terrorist organization that was killing 175 Americans a day? We are killing ourselves with these drugs, and we need to stand up and say enough. We need our government to step up and say, we will help to participate in ending this disease, making it a chronic treatable disease. This is no different than AIDS. No different. And we stood up and found treatments for that so that people today who suffer from that disease can live and live happy and productive lives. Our people need the same thing. But after 8 years in this job, let me give you some advice. Nobody gets the attention from government that they need without asking for it, without demanding it. We can no longer sit on the sidelines and be ashamed, be afraid. All of you have a story to tell. And until you tell that story over and over again and as publicly as you can, this message won't get through. We have a new government here in 41 days. You need to tell your story to the new governor. You need to make sure that he understands that this isn't just the philosophy of one governor, that this is the need and the demand of the people of the state of New Jersey, and that we will not stand for any less attention being paid to this problem. In fact, we need even more. But he needs to hear that from all of you. In the end, I believe that every life is an individual gift from God. I have 4 children. And when each one of them was born, I remember thinking to myself, what an amazing moment this is, that a human life has come into the world with endless possibility. And each one of us, as we looked at our newborn child, believed that there was nothing in life that wasn't possible for them. That life winds up taking lots of twists and turns, but it never becomes less precious. It never becomes less valuable. No matter what mistakes or misjudgments that life makes, it is still an individual gift from God. And we must protect it and cherish it, no matter what condition we find it in. If we find it perfectly healthy and beautiful, we need to protect it. When it is sick, we need to try to heal it. When it is wounded, we need to stand up for it and help them back to their feet. I believe that my children's life is precious. I believe the life of the 16-year-old addicted girl sitting on the floor of a prison somewhere in this state, that life is precious. I believe that the life of the 40-year-old lawyer who's addicted to painkillers and alcohol and throwing his life away is precious. I believe the life of the 50-year-old woman who is working at the local restaurant and can't show up to work in the morning because she can't get out of bed because of her addiction, that life is precious. It is not for us to judge. It's for us to help. You're here tonight because you believe that. I know I'm preaching to the converted. You wouldn't be standing in the cold tonight if you didn't have a story to tell, and if that story that's in your heart didn't compel you to be here. And I suspect that most of you are here because that story is the most personal kind. Either your own or the one of someone that you love and is today suffering, or that you love and has unfortunately been lost. Let's make sure that each one of those lives has meaning to it beyond the life it led before it was lost. Let's make sure that we spend our time and our energy making folks know that that person was precious and important and valuable and loved, and that their example of their life as it was lived, can help to heal someone else who's suffering. This will not be fixed tomorrow or next week or even next year. But we cannot stand by idly any longer and let 175 people die a day. I will not be able to sleep at night without working on this and continue to work on it well beyond when I leave work and here. I will not give in or give up, and you cannot either. Your loved ones mean more than that to all of us. And so to the people here tonight, I can't thank you enough for coming here. For all the people who spoke to you before, I can't thank them enough for being willing to stand behind this microphone and tell you their story and how much they care. Love, compassion, understanding, respect for every human life can solve this problem, but only if we raise our voices. I want you to answer one question for me before I go. Are you willing to stand up and speak out to help to solve this problem? If you're willing to do it, so am I. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Make sure that we spend this holiday season celebrating the preciousness of life and doing everything we can to make sure that the lives we've lost will not have been lost in vain. If you promise to do that, I promise to do it also. God bless each and every one of you. We love you. Thank you.
Go ahead, ladies. You're going to sing Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear. 'Twas grace that fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. When we've been here 1,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than we had when we begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a
Thank you again to the Princeton High School a cappella group, and thank you to all of you, and particularly to Governor Christie, and to each and every one of you for your commitment, for your advocacy, and for believing that we can do better. Godspeed and Merry Christmas and all the best in the new year. Thank you.
Good job, man. Thanks, man.